That was my perspective back then, saying sitting at the back, I saw everybody in the class doing whatever they did. I was always the one who never did extremely well, never did extremely bad. Just planted right in between.
You guys must be wondering if I'm busy writing my next book, but that's not the case. In fact, I was just jotting down the achievements of our next guest, and I must say, it's quite a list. Let me give you a quick introduction. It is indeed an achievement to have made such a significant mark in the education sector at such a young age. It gives me great pleasure to introduce a true evangelist of the Indian education fraternity. Please join me in welcoming Kavin Kumar Kandasamy, the Managing Director of Mangalam Educational Institutions. Hello, Kavin.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you so much for coming all the way. Where are you flying in from?
Coimbatore.
Coimbatore. So, is that where you are based?
Well, it's a bit of an ironic question because I do about 7,000 kilometers a month on road.
Okay.
So my hometown is a small town called Andiyur. So I travel a lot between Andiyur, Coimbatore and Kotagiri, which is in the mountains, Ooty.
Ooty, yeah.
So-
no, why I'm asking you that is because I understand you have 7
Yes.
schools right now, and they're all in
Absolutely.
different places.
Absolutely.
All of different places geographically and different places in terms of the kind of students that come there, the economic, socio-economic profile of the students that come here. So why don't you first tell about the group
Sure.
and what you have, and then we can delve further into it.
I'd love to. So the institutions are called Mangalam Educational Institutions. We started off with one institution in about 1999-2000. Today, we're 7 institutions under the Mangalam Educational Institutions banner. The thing that makes us unique is most educational institutions cater to one specific target segment. Either the ones who have the financial means to do something or the financial means not to do something. It's not based on caste, community, or creed. So one of our institutions deals with students who can afford to only go to a government school, but if they'd like to put pennies together and come into a private school so that they can afford quality education with quality care, we have an institution for them. And we have an institution on the other side, which is a little above in terms of the refinements we can offer. And Mangalam Central School is another institution, another place where there's another different refinement. But all aside, we have one institution in the mountains in Ooty. It's Kotagiri near Ooty. It's called Riverside Public School, which is where the creme de la creme come into.
And you're only 31. Well, I mean,
yes.
you may not think it's only 31, but I can say only 31 because I am 45. But, and you're managing 7 institutions. I'm sure you're like a lot of teachers or a lot of like principals and all you have, they're older than you.
Absolutely. Okay. Absolutely. What have I told you? You know, the one most important commodity for me, and forgive me for calling it commodity, but human element that I respect is trust and loyalty. When I sort of came back from my international education, I was looking for people that I could trust, for people that could carry on the vision, that could tell me bluntly, Kavin, this is not the thing to do. Maybe we should look at it differently. So funny enough, some of my own teachers who taught me are working with me now.
What were you like as a student?
I did fairly well, but I was always at the last bench, not because people put me there, because I thought sitting at the last bench gave me a good perspective on everybody. That was my perspective back then, saying sitting at the back, I saw everybody in the class doing whatever they did. I was always the one who never did extremely well, never did extremely bad. Just planted right in between.
Do you have any interesting memory from your childhood? Any interesting story you always share?
See, there are a lot of interesting memories from my childhood. But I'd like to tell you a little bit about my family because
Sure.
the story that I'm
Go
going to
ahead.
tell you. So my father is a first generation entrepreneur, right? So he came from a family that did not have the means to send him to school. He went to the government schools, and back then they had something called the PUC. So Mr. C.K. Kandasamy, my father, he was the state's second And back then, education was really valued as you know, and a luxury. When you graduated state second, that was like you've graduated to the Oxfords. But after that, unfortunately, his family means, although he was offered a scholarship, his situation was so tight that he had to go to work to support his family, because just going to, further on with his education was not going to help his family live that day. So he went on to work. And from there, he did not even have enough money to buy himself a food, a decent meal to get through the day. So he laid the foundation for everything that I am sitting on, right? He started off with a small business, and he was the one who inspired us to get into the field of education to do justice by the society. So when all this was going, I studied in Montfort School, Yercaud. I mean, much of what I am is back to my alma mater, and it's a very famous, institution where Rockford was shot. I think you know the old movie Rockford. It was shot there. So if you're asking for a movie that came in Bollywood, that is my school, right?
Okay.
So all that I am is back to my school. When I started studying at the school, an expensive school, right? My father did not have the means to actually send me there, but he struggled and strived to excel, and he got me there, right? One day, when he was dropping me off at campus, he had to give me some pocket money so that, the residential life, we always have 50 rupees, 20 rupees with us so that we can go buy some things. My father gave me every money in his pocket, which was about 30 rupees. Just took it and gave it to me. And he touched his pocket, and there was no more money in his pocket. So I had to split it with my father. I said, Dad, take this so that you can get back home. And can I keep this? I mean, I was still selfish back then as a young kid, but my father was happy to see that I was able to give something back. But little did he know that moment was going to change me for a lifetime. So if you're asking about an interesting memory, it comes from where my father, sort of envisioned to give us the life that we have today, and that how it has influenced us to go forward. Yeah.
Yeah. There's no doubt. And I think the things you learned, and now you're making a difference in the life of your students every day. We have a surprise message for you from some of the students and teachers from Riverside. Let's have a look at what they have to say.
One of the most amazing changes that this young lad brought in through the new age learning is, sir, he said one day to me and to the principal also, sir, let's stop teaching, sir. He said, let's enable children to learn.
I am a science student and I like finding solutions to real world crises. And RiverX exhibition, which was conceived by our managing director, is a big platform which helps me to make my learning into actions.
We are made to try our luck and improve our skills with the help of the extraordinary faculty we have at Riverside and the support we get from the management, which is spearheaded by our managing director, Mr. Kavan Kumar Kandasamy.
When it comes to job satisfaction, you work with me and not under me is what Mr. Kavan always says. That explains his greatness.
Thank you.
That's definitely good. Of course, you've opened 7 schools. You told me 5-7 years ago you were 700 students, now you're 7,000.
True.
There's 7 schools now. It's all very nice to hear, but I'm sure there were hurdles along the way. What were some of the biggest hurdles and how did you overcome them?
Well, hurdles almost every single day. Something that we tell our students, and I strongly believe in it, is life is an exam. And you're never out of an exam at any given point. I mean, not the metaphorical sense, I'm saying the exam, right? When we started off with the first institution and me stepping in, I was barely 22, 23, right? So always in the field of education, you value somebody's ability to do something based on how long they've been around, not about what they've done. It's just about how long they've been around, irrespective of what they've done. So when I did propose that we are going to go from a small town to a truly reputed institution on a national scale, the first people to mock me were my very own people. So I stood up and I said, listen, you will not have to respect me until I've earned your respect.
Yeah.
And if I can earn your respect, then I'm going to treat you the same way because you'll have to earn my respect too. So getting the confidence of the people was the very first challenge that I had. So growing from 1 to 7 are mere numbers, but gaining the trust of people was the biggest hurdle.
Exactly. Do you keep working all the time? 7 schools, growing at a very high speed. So how you, like, are you able to do, you think you have a good work-life balance?
I've been blessed with a beautiful wife who's understanding that our life is not for us alone, but for the greater cause of other people.
Okay.
So she's been doing all the heavy lifting. And if you ask work, I mean, you'll have to define work to me. Because for me, work and life are one and the same. It's not good, I know. But when you're so passionate about something, why not? And when India being such a young country, why not, right? And if we fail to use the power we have in our hands, who else is going to do something about it?
But you know, you've studied in Australia, France, and now you're roaming around all over Tamil Nadu on small towns. But to come back to deep interiors of the South and, you know, run schools, what made you do it, and, you know, are you happy with that choice?
I definitely am. But what made me do it? I think it's all about the upbringing you've had, right? For me, my mother and motherland are just one and the same. And I've been blessed with this opportunity, and if I'm going to sort of live off it, I think to me, it's a crime, right? I've been blessed with a wonderful opportunity to study in the finest residential school, to be overseas in Melbourne. I had a beautiful life. I know some of my friends are going to watch this and write back to me saying, hey, ask Chetan this, right? So that's how cool they are. But I lived in Nice. You know Nice. Beautiful, beautiful place. So I was sitting there one day, and you know, see, all along I knew I had to go back. It was my calling. It was my destiny. I didn't know how, I didn't know when, and I didn't know what I was going to do in the first place. But I know I had to go back. So I was sitting in Nice, and I worked for a company there. So I was applying for jobs. And living in France, when you don't speak the language, and you're applying for multinationals, everybody's going to ask you, Kavin, vous parlez français? You speak French? And I barely spoke French. I barely. So I guess, you know, I applied for about 120 jobs. And I was about to pack my bags, I'm not going to get any job. And one fine day, I get Airbus calling, I get IBM calling, I get an offer from Budapest. And then I take a job in Nice, right? And then that was me testing myself, saying, if I were not anybody, and I moved to another country, would I be able to make it? And I sort of ticked that box. And then I sat down and I said, okay, here's the moment. Are we going to go do that? Or are we going to make real impact? I still remember the day, Jan 20th. Very much, because I sat in that office, that very cubicle, thinking, this is it. Because it would have been a year later, it would have been 2 years later, but it was going to be someday I have to go back. I said, this is it. And in about 30 days, packed my bags, came back. And after that, you know, the good gods have been kind.
Very good. It's excellent. And we India got an educationist who's now literally educating 7,000 kids. So we are lucky that you came back and that you're happy here also. So we are happy for that too. No, that is wonderful, and I think that's a great message for anybody watching, anybody considering entrepreneurship, education, anybody who's just thinking, can you actually make a difference in India? And I think you can at your own level. So thank you so much for coming.
Thanks a lot.
We have one little you know, ritual we do. We take a picture there and to put it up on the picture wall to keep this memory. So I'll just request you to come there and take a picture with me.
Oh, please, that'll be my pleasure. And may I have a small surprise for you. The
Sure.
2 books written by our kids.
Oh, okay.
And I was hoping,
Yeah,
being the inspiration
I'd
you
love
are,
to have
that I
one.
could give you that book on behalf of our kids.
Sure. Okay.
Our kids are going to be absolutely excited. So these 2 books
Thank
were
you.
written by our kids, published by Riverside Public School. And I hope you find the time to read it,
Okay.
at least one chapter.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thanks
Thank
for
you.
that.
Come, we'll take a picture
Absolutely.
as well. Okay. Look there. Mr. Kavin, it was truly an honor talking to you and sharing your story with millions of our viewers. Thank you so much for being a part of this show. I'm sure you would all agree with me when I say that Mr. Kavin is taking Indian education to new heights. As long as educationists like him are setting an example for the youth, India has a promising future. This is me, Chetan Bhagat, signing off for today. Keep watching Skilltree Education Evangelist of India, powered by Great Place to Study, streaming now on ForbesIndia.com.